Just make sure we have some sound here. We're double checking. Always a good idea to double check as we get going through this. And we'll make sure that we got some sound coming in. I think we're in pretty good shape. There we go. We got some sound. That's perfect. I'll mute that over on the other side. Welcome. This is James speaking. We're going to be covering how to create courses with ChatGPT today, and I'm actually going to show you one that we just did for my pickleball project, and we'll go through that. Again, if there are any questions, make sure to put them in the live chat. I'll do my best to answer them, or in the comments below after the fact. And of course, this will be available, this webcast, not only on YouTube, but on the teachonline.io site, where we're always available to answer questions about creating training sites, campuses, online courses, everything to do with teaching online and building your own learning campus. Now, one of the things that's, I wouldn't say it's difficult, it's more frustrating for me, is getting the lighting right on all of these webcasts. And I played around with a little bit today, and you might notice that skin color is a little off. One of the things I personally struggle with when you're doing these teaching onlines is getting the studio lighting ready, especially if you have blotchy or red skin, which I enjoy. And so we'll just play around with those as we go and see what we can do with them. There's lots that you can do with them, but it's learning how to get things right. And I think the reason I mention that is because the course that I'm going to show you how we got set up today doesn't require a video or a lot of video. And that's one of the things that many of the people that we talk to, or many of the people that we help out, they really struggle with at the start. It's like, how can I create a course? I don't have a video studio, or I don't feel comfortable in front of the camera, or I don't have all of the equipment, or I don't know how to use the equipment, or I don't have a good microphone, or all I have is a webcam, or I don't, where would I do it? I have an office, but the background is awful. And there's lots of different places that you can go and look on YouTube for getting set up with your studio, technical things. But at the end of the day, if you are going to do some kind of video, you're going to have a camera and a mic and some lighting to get it to basically work. The one thing that is exciting about ChatGPT is that it can remove the necessity for the visual component. You can use the auditory component and the text component and images and not have to do video and create some really great courses. So that's an exciting thing for, I think, for a lot of people who are creating courses or who have a lot in their head that they want to put together, package, and structure it in a way that teaches people how to do something or get an outcome that they may have wanted and need learn how to do. The other thing I'm going to touch on here, again, which is kind of interesting for, I think for me, is that there, if we go do a look on YouTube right now, and I just went and did a look, they're probably they might have 10 billion videos for all I know. But there's a lot of information there, but I find it difficult personally, and you answer this question yourself. Is it easy to go and learn how to do something if you just use YouTube as the resource and not as a course? And what do I mean by that? A course, in my opinion, has much more than a series of videos put together to have it as a course. And that's the one thing I wanted to go over today, is that there are some other pieces to courses other than just a series of videos. Because if a course was, you're going to call it a course, you could just go onto YouTube and kind of pick through the videos that you thought were appropriate and not have them in any, structured sequence or anything other than is in the video and maybe in the links or the text below the video. It isn't a course, it's great information. So putting it all together and structuring it in a way that makes sense to people, not only yourself, but to the people that you're trying to teach or answer questions for, or show them an outcome, or help them, guide them in a particular direction, teach them what they don't already know and they aren't necessarily doing. There's some real value in treating it as a course. So I'm going to go through a couple of the different pieces that I really think are important when we're doing this. And the first one, there's a couple tools that I'm going to talk about. And I think the one that's really interesting for me is I always start off with a tool called XMind. And that's a mind mapping tool. So I always do that. Number one is start off with XMind and a mind mapping tool. And I do that because what I want to do is kind of have an overview or a structure for part of the process that I want to teach. And when you're starting on a course, it's always a great idea to kind of have that in place. And remember that, that this is focused on a specific outcome. So you're going to use XMind to sort of lay the foundation for an outcome. And when you're doing that, it's awfully hard sometimes because you don't know the sequence that you want to necessarily teach or the best sequence to find out. So the thing that's happened now, which is kind of interesting here, is we can actually use a tool like ChatGPT. Let me just erase that. Like ChatGPT, we can use a tool now to actually create the flow or the process of the course. We can actually have that go and be created for us. And that gives us a lot of not only speed in doing this, but it allows us to really get a big picture of the entire process that we're trying to teach. So I'm a big fan of using XMind, and again, there's two ways of kind of doing it. When we start off, it's like you've got an idea, you've got this big idea here, and you know the process. You know it, or you're going to use ChatGPT to know it. So you're going to use ChatGPT to kind of do it. And you've got you've got the idea for the course, the title for the course. You know what it is you want to teach. You know that what the question is that you're answering for people. It's just a point here where you're going to go and say, okay, I have this piece here. Where am I going to get the process? Where am I going to get that sequence from? And what I always do is I recommend that if we're going to spend some time with this, is that we use that XMind to map it out and have a clear picture of it. So I'll show you a little bit about XMind, how I got that set up, or how I do set it up and how I use it, so that we have that. And then, the other thing is we'll take a look and figure out, okay, now that I have a bit of a map, whether I created it myself or I use ChatGPT to help me, how do we actually create the content? And what content do we create? So we'll actually go through some ChatGPT prompts that we use on a regular basis and ones that I use to create the course. So why don't I start off? Maybe what we'll do is I'll go here. Let's actually go to, let's go and take a look at, right now I'm looking at obviously the site where we're live right now. And this is our workshop page on the teachonline.io site. But what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to we'll go to, let me just make sure I get to the right one. There's Pickleball Friends. So let's take a look. We'll go to the main page at Pickleball Friends here, and I'll show you how we actually got set up with the course and what the course looks like. And then we'll take a look and see how it actually got created. Okay, so what do we have here? This is the main page again. This is an online community site for pickleball lovers, and it's a place where people can come and share their pickleball stories, videos, pictures, make friends. But we've also got a complete listing here which allows businesses and or associations, vendors, professionals add their profiles as well. And my goal is to obviously have some events and these courses, which is what I'm going to show you right now. And I wanted to have one course to at least start off with. So what I did is I created a course called Discover Pickleball, the ultimate guide beginner's guide for pickleball players. So I wanted to have something here that was allowing people to get started, that if they didn't know pickleball, they had a really good idea after taking this of what was involved, how it got started, what the rules were, what they needed to play, what to expect when they play, what are the different types of play, that kind of thing. They had a really good idea that they could, talk about it and be comfortable if they were just starting off, or if they were friends with someone who was playing and they wanted to have a little bit of working knowledge of what actually happens and how it works. So let's take a look at this course and I'll show you how we created it. So I got a title here and I've got a little bit of a little start piece. It says, this course is tailor-made for pickleball enthusiasts just like you who are raring to pick up a paddle but don't know where to begin. So that again kind of puts it in perspective of what I'm trying to do with this, and hopefully that gets us in a spot where let me just move this one down, make sure we're on there we go. So it puts it in a spot where you're comfortable playing. Okay, so view course details. Let's go down, take a look, and here's the course details. So right now you can see I'm the administrator, I'm logged in, I got 18% completed, but we've got a text description of the particular course. And again, you can come and visit this and take a read at it, but we've got a paragraph or two. And what I wanted to do with this is I want to have a bit of a description that was lighthearted, casual, not something that's overly technical, something that's friendly for someone who's not going to feel overwhelmed if they're just starting out. So that was a paragraph or two just to get started, and I wanted to put people in the shoes or the paddle of someone who's playing and feel comfortable with it. Okay, so just a little bit of description, and you can see we've got Enter, Discover Pickleball, the Ultimate Beginner's Guide. And what I did is I just tried to show some of the kind of things about a sneak peek of what's inside. So it's engaging content. Again, I was talking about I didn't want it to have overly technical. I wanted to have some interactive activities so that it actually gave people something to do, not just read. So I wanted to have some lessons or activity items they could practice or use after the fact. It's one thing to, just look at a video, but I wanted people to actually do something. If we're talking about a particular aspect of pickleball, I want to be able to be in a position where they could go, hey, I got to practice this or do something here and have that work. So that's what I was doing with that one. Community focused. So I wanted to focus on the fact that it is not just you playing, it is a group of people playing and a community of people playing. And also, I just wanted to have rules, covered equipment, that kind of stuff. And again, the whole idea was that where it started, it's not about being super athletic. It's about having some fun. There's people of all ages, all sexes, playing of all the physical skills. So that's how we got to get started. And then I had these particular lessons. And if I scroll down on the course content here, you can see we had Welcome to the World of Pickleball, Pickleball Equipment and Court Basics, Fundamentals, Rule and Scoring, skills and strategies, so about the types of shots, getting introduced to those, and then some advanced shots, and then perfecting the game, so once you get playing, and then the community and competition, and then where to start and get your journey going. The other thing I did here too as well is if you take a look, you'll see we've got one quiz here, and we also have a final quiz at the end. And I'm going to put a certificate in here later. We haven't done that yet, but there'll be a certificate of achievement. And the reason I'm mentioning this is pretty simple, because remember I started about you can just go and pick out some YouTube videos. You probably could if you wanted to go and pick out what are the fundamentals of rules and scoring for pickleball. And you could go to YouTube and do a search on those and find them. You may find 500, 600, 1,000 different videos answering that question. Okay. You may go and say, well, what are the different serves or shots that I have? And again, you could do the same thing. What are the different gear that I need to have? Where do I play? Do they have tournaments? What levels are involved? Each of these particular lessons, you could go and search for them and you're going to find great answers. The thing is that they're not in a sequence, and that's the real value of treating this as a course. The other thing that I want you to pay attention to is you'll see here that we've got 2 different quizzes. And the reason that I added quizzes is I wanted to make sure that people were accountable for actually consuming the information, but more importantly, that they knew that they understand it. So that's a real value for someone who's wanting to learn this. You know, if they didn't understand something, or they didn't do well in the quiz, or they couldn't answer the quiz, it means they probably needed to go back and review something and make sure they understood part of what it was. The other thing, when we look in the lessons, you're going to see that there are some activity items. And what that means is that, you know, you're learning or reading some information, but did you actually take the time to go and do this after you read it? You know, did you go and actually, practice some shots after if you were doing it? Or did you go and understand the difference between a serve and a volley and a smash and when they were used? So there's some sort of some actions, some physical things that I've asked people to do in there. So we got quizzes, we got a community and a group of people to answer questions if you don't understand. We've got a certificate. We actually have some downloadable materials as well for people in this. So we've got a complete package, and the question becomes, where did that come from? So let's take a look here, and I'll just see, I don't think I opened up my Xmind, so let's go and if I can see that quickly, and we'll open that one up here. And in this particular case, hopefully we can get a course content planning. We've got a couple courses here. I'm just taking a look at some of the ones that were available. And I don't have the one right off the top of my head for the course. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a new one, and I'll show you how I got this started out for a course. So again, this is xmind.net. It's a free software you can go and download. It's available on the Mac or PC. You can go and quickly set this up and just say I got a course title or an idea for the course, and then you've got these topics that you can drag and drop. Now what I do is I actually get this set up in a style, and I'm going to open this up, that is in a process or a flow, which I think makes it a lot easier to follow. So I do it in this particular one right here, which is kind of a timeline view that works well for me. And this is exactly how I do it. So I'm going to bring out the lessons here. Let's just make this a little bit bigger. And we'll make sure it's up a little higher so that you can see that. So I got a course title, and then I've got my lesson. So if I'm going and I have my, got lesson 1, for example, and I've got lesson 2, I'll just fill some of these out so that it makes sense. And lesson 3. And lesson 4. So I may have these lessons, and what I suggest that you do is you title the points in the process that you want. Now I've got it 1, 2, 3, 4. What you want to do, in my opinion, is just put the points or the process that you think is important for this course to teach or have people get the outcome or know what they need to know to answer the question that they have and the reason that you've got the course put together. So the reason that I want to do that is because I can actually go, remember, and reorganize these after the fact. If you do a brain dump and you just put together all of the stuff that you want to have in the lessons and in the format, this is a great way to get started because you see it as a big picture, and then you can move things around and get comfortable with it in a way that allows you to have the sequence of events or the process that you're teaching really important. The same thing happens here as if you're going to go and you're going to do a subtopic. So you might do, topic 1. Sorry, we better do another one there. So we got topic 1, topic 2. I can go and move those around again. And in fact, if they should go to another session, I can actually have them go to make it to a full session if I wanted to. Or if I'm not mistaken, we should be able to get it to go into there. My apologies, can't do that here. Thought I could, but can't do it. So we're going to put it back into this one and see if we, there we go. Okay, so I can move these around, get them in the order that I want, the way that I want them to show up, and get it in a nice package that makes sense for me running the course and the topics that are there. And again, this really gives you a really good idea when you're building out and you're putting together your actual course. So these lessons can become the lessons and the order of sequence that the course that you're creating. Now, the real issue here is that, let's say, for example, you don't really have the process that you think is important, or the process that you want to have, the one that works. So what do you do in that case? How do you actually, make it work so it makes sense to you? Well, the easy thing to do is get some help. So let's just take a look and see what we did here with ChatGPT. So I'm going to scroll up and we'll take a look at some of the prompts and stuff that I used here to create the particular course. And you'll see there's a couple things that I did. And to get the sequence, if we take a look at it and you say, okay, that's great. I did it with, I put it together with my Xmind. I got the process together. And I'm just going, I'm stuck. I'm not really sure which way to do it. Ask for some help. So what I did is I started playing around with ChatGPT and I said, getting started playing pickleball course basic for beginners. I said, give me 5 different examples of course outlines for simple, straightforward, how to play pickleball course. So I asked for some help. And again, previously I had done a whole bunch of homework with ChatGPT, asking or adding context and all of the different things that you probably heard already about. I'm creating a course for a certain group of people, a certain demographic, certain skill level. You want to give ChatGPT some background, of course, but when we got to it, I said, knowing that it's this group of people that I'm creating the course for, I said, give me 5 outlines for the course. And it gave me 5 different ones. And we'll scroll through here, and they're all pretty similar in some respects. Introduction, equipment, rules and scoring, basics of gameplay, strategies and tips, practice and drills, a final assessment, and play. Okay. And then it gave me another one, which is a little bit different. And you'll see that it had Pickleball 101, Introduction to Pickleball, and Understanding the Equipment. Now, where do these fit in? We're looking this in a text format, but if we go back and take a look at Xmind, you'll see that we've got, if I call this one, so I call that one Pickleball 101, and we go back to Pickleball again. We have Introduction to Pickleball. I'm just doing this example. I'm going to do just paste the one in that we had, Introduction to Pickleball. And the other one that we had, let's just make sure I got that space out of the way. The other one that ChatGPT came up with was Understanding the Equipment. So I'm using this mind map as a way to visually organize the course that ChatGPT had created for me. Now, the other reason that I do it this way is when I'm creating these courses is there's a couple things that I can do on the mind map that I can't do in ChatGPT. And here's the ones that are kind of interesting in my opinion. The first one is I can go and insert a note. So if at any time I can go and talk about, I can go and add and say things I want to cover. Make sure I can spell properly. I got the microphone in front of my keyboard here, so I'm typing a little bit awkwardly. But there's an example of I can now put some notes in about things that I want to cover here in this particular thing. I've got a note in it. What about if I have some additional resources that I want to add to that particular lesson, or in fact, or that topic, or the actual lesson? I can do that as well. So at any time, I can go and insert a link as an example. So it can be a web page or a link to another topic. But if I want to put a web page in, I can go and just paste the URL and get a preview of it. So let's say I'm talking about the USA Pickleball Association, or a club, or some vendor, or as an example, I can put a link in and be able to add that and have a preview of it. Okay, so this gives us a little more flexibility in terms of understanding all of the pieces of the course, but the lesson title, the lesson, and the topics, those ones are coming from here. And I asked again for 5 different sessions. You can see we've got the course title, we've got a lesson, 2 topics, a lesson, 2 topics, a lesson, 3 topics here, and it's got a bunch of them there. Another title, different information. Another one, Pickleball for Beginners. And then number 5 was Welcome to Pickleball, Understanding the Essentials, the Rules, Learning the Techniques, Strategizing the Game, Practice Makes Perfect, and a wrap-up. So I got the 5 there, but I didn't know which one would be the best one. So the next thing that I did is I said, of those 5 course outlines, which do you think would be easiest for someone getting started to actually take the time to learn? What style of text or approach or of content would be best suited for this type of sport and players? So not only was I doing just a dump of what it is that ChatGPT gave me, what I was doing is asking it to say, hey, look, this is a course that it's intended for beginners, someone who is just getting started, and I want to make sure that they're actually going to learn it and perhaps do it. And I asked it, and it gave me some help. And it said, you know what, number 4 is probably the easiest one. And the reason is, as for the style of text and approach of content, it's like simple and clear visual aids, hands-on learning, incremental progression, interactive and engaging content, so quizzes, games, drills, and practice matches, community support, which is what's going on, and then a real-life example and story. So these are the things that I said I asked ChatGPT. It's not just about the process, it's how we deliver that process. And it's talking about hands-on learning, visual aids, incremental, and it's talking about real-life examples and stories. So having said that, what do you want to do? I need you to output the version number 4 in Markdown. And the reason I did it here is because I can copy this code and it will actually create the course in Learn-After. So here's the next thing that I did. We had a little bit of information that was there. I was going, great, that's fine. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to create the individual lessons and topics that you suggestion in version 4 of the Pickleball for Beginners course. You suggested 7 styles of text to be used. Put together a standard template that can be used the right copy and suggested visual, quizzes, and style for each of the topics and lessons. So I drilled down one more time, right? You're going and you're saying, okay, that's great. I get it. I understand. I've got more than just some content here. Where, how are we going to do it so that, there we go. How are we going to do it so that it gets delivered in a manner that makes sense to people, that's easy and engaging? So the reason I did it this way and asked it to give me this structure is that the lessons should be the same style each time. One of the last things you want to do is when you're looking at these course structures is, in my opinion, you want to keep things consistent. It's consistency and commitment and consistency. It's one of the ways people get influenced if they know that it's the same thing. They come for an expectation of what each of the steps should be like and the kind of content that is delivered in the steps and the way that it's delivered it. It's awfully hard, if you have a particular style that you like deliver content in. Like, I'm freelancing right now, right? I'm not going from any particular notes other than what I see on the screen when I'm talking to you in front of you. But if you're going to give a course, it is helpful that if you have a similar structure for all the lessons and topics. And the only reason I'm coming and stopping on this for a second is because I often get asked, what's the best length for a course? Or should I, how long should a lesson be? And if a lesson is a certain length of time, should I create separate topics for a lesson? And again, these are all questions that you have to get comfortable with and fit to the content that you're trying to share with people and the process that you're trying to teach people. And, I always look and I say, try and do, if you can do 7 to 10 lessons, in my opinion. I don't have any of the technical background on research on if this is true, but in the work that I've done with clients and the courses that I've created, you get 7 to 10 lessons, and those lessons, you should try and get them maybe 3 to 5 minutes with some kind of action item in them, because if they get any longer, they're quite hard to stay focused on and they don't get consumed. And if they're very, very long, it's hard to get to the appropriate content within an hour of content, because you have to watch the whole hour and you don't really know how stuff fits together. So you want to chunk it up or chunk it down. So I try and do things in 7 to 10 lessons, and I try and do it at 3 to 5 minutes, sometimes up to 10 minutes for any kind of video content. And that really puts a nice package together that people can consume in one sitting or over a period of time. And it allows you to make sure that people are understanding those 3 to 5 minutes by putting quizzes in and assignments in that particular work. So what I did is I said, you know what? I'm going to have these sessions. I'm asking for some help for the content to be written out. I've got a process that I'm using. I asked for some help. I could have come up with this myself, but I asked for it in a particular process. But I'm asking for it now for in that process for each lesson, what is the style of content that I'm going to be sharing with people? And it gave me a couple sections here, 6 pieces. Lesson title, objectives, the key points, activity, drill, or quiz. Remember we talked about we want to be interactive, visual aid suggestions, and a closing summary. So here's an exact template that it came up with that works really well. So let's go take a look and say, what do we got here? We now have a template. And let me see if I can zoom that in a little bit. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. We've got, pull it up again. We've got a lesson title. It's the first piece. The objectives. So it's like, what is it you're going to be able to learn in this particular lesson? What's the key part of the lesson? And then the key points, and then an activity and drill. Okay. Description of the activity, drill, or quiz that students will participate in to reinforce the lesson. And then visual aid suggestions. If you have, I talked about the start of, not necessarily having to do videos. We actually asked it to say, hey, what can we use in videos or audio or diagrams that would help this particular lesson? Okay. And then a closing summary for the lesson. And then it said, applying this template to lesson 1 in Pickleball for beginners, it actually gave us the content to get started. And I said, output the first lesson's content in a fun-friendly manner that would be entertaining and non-threatening to a pickleball beginner. Make sure they're at least 750 words. And here's the lesson. It's got all the information about where it started, all of that great stuff. And again, this is generated by ChatGPT. You can put this in yourself. or you can ask ChatGPT to write this out, make edits to it. So it's creative plagiarization. It's sometimes what I call it. And then in this case, it's got activity, drill, and quizzes. It's got a quiz, 3-person quiz. And then it's got an engaging, lighthearted video about the history of pickleball, infographics, diagrams talking about the growth of pickleball. Okay. There's number 2. Same thing. Go through it. And in this case, what I did on this next one is, remember I said do it with a player's perspective. I added a person. Imagine you're Jake, first time a player. So it's putting perspective of the person that's taking the course, what they are actually going to experience when they're doing this. So again, we've got it through information on the court size. It looks a little bit about non-valley and introducing some different sort of quizzes. And then activity drill, let's practice identifying the parts of a pickleball course. Here's a simple diagram, label the parts correctly. So it's given us an opportunity or something that we can do as a visual component to actually have someone write out or put a material in and say, what's the dimension of the court? Where's the non-valley zone or kitchen? It's giving someone something to do, an activity or a drill. So in the course materials, put a graphic of the court and then just have them mark out where it is and have one that's blank and one with the correct answers. But we've now got an activity or drill that's created. Okay. So the visual aid, we've got the diagram of a pickleball court for labeling, and then a comparison picture showing the different types of paddles and balls. Some 2 additional pieces of content that we can put directly into it, and a closing summary. Okay. Now, one of the things that you can do is when you're using ChatGPT to do this, again, this is all stuff that you can write yourself, and it's a good way to structure it. If you have specific parts you need to add or change, absolutely go for it. And just remember that at the end of the day, you can always rewrite any of these sections just by asking for a little bit of help. And this time I said rewrite the lesson, this time including some tips for getting started to look out for and what most people do when they start. So this time it was just a little bit different, but it was someone who maybe has started already or has heard or seen some of the videos that they watched, and it just gives them a little more clarification on that. Okay, do the same thing for the next lessons. So I went through all of these particular pieces about the scoring, beginner tips, common mistakes, things that have to happen. So these are all drills, and then we got a quiz time. Which team can score more score points? How does that work? Visual aids, a video demonstration of the basic rules and scoring system, diagrams, closing summary, strategies. Again, same thing: serving, returning, rallying, beginner tips, activity and drill. Practice serving 20 times. So it's giving someone to do or knowing what they need to do. Okay, so again, pretty straightforward stuff, and we end up that we've got a nice course put together. And welcome to the world of pickleball. Objectives. Where did Jake start? And in this case, I took a video from USA Pickleball, and it's the pickleball strategy and beginners. And in this particular case, I took the quiz and we added it as a quiz that's directly in the course. And where did pickleball start? And you can see through, we've got a lesson, we've got a video, we've got a quick start piece, and we've now got a course started out. So hopefully this kind of gets your head open a little bit about how this could work, and more importantly, about some of the things that you can spend time with when you're creating these courses. I just did this for pickleball because that's the project we're working on, but you can use the same approach for any of the courses that you're creating. Quick recap, what do we need to do? You got to obviously have a title or an idea or an understanding of the question that you're answering for people when you're creating a course and the outcome that you want to have with the course, download your copy of Xmind, play around with it. If you need help getting a course syllabus put together, ask ChatGPT to help you. And once you've got that syllabus put together, you're going to ask ChatGPT to let you know of a course style and template that you can plug the content into that makes it consistent along the way. So again, this is really exciting times for people who are playing around with online courses like we do here on Teach Online and TrainingSites.io. You've got a huge opportunity to share your expertise, to be able to teach people what you already know and do. And if you want to earn some money on it, you can certainly do that by charging for your courses. And let's take a look here at what I did here in LearnDash and on this campus, this community, because the course, in my case, is free. I'm not selling the course. So you can see we've got a course all put together here. I used all of the different pieces that are part of ChatGPT that I put together and worked. The other thing I will show you at the end is I did want a final quiz. So here's what I did at the end. We'll just go down with some of my content here again. And I did say at the end, I said, you know what? I want to make sure that I have a really, really, really comprehensive list of questions for people so that I understand or that I know that they understand, what's actually going on with pickleball and how it works. So here's the quiz that I put together. I said to ChatGPT, I said, I would like to include a final quiz for the student. And I said, create 15 multiple select questions that can be used in a final quiz covering the lessons that we've created. So I do this at the end because it's given all of the lessons. I want to make sure that the quiz asks the questions that they should have answers for because they were covered in the lessons. And the other thing this does is if it gives me 15, I don't have to use all of them, but it will give them to me in a way that allows the flow of the course content to be covered in the quiz. And in this one, it gave me, I asked for it up front, and I said, column for description instructions, a column for the question type, singular, multi, and the possible answers for each. So it gave me some really, really good questions. 15 were there, and I looked at it and said, well, you know what? I better make sure that I have the answers. So I said, regenerate the table with the same content, only this time include an additional column with the correct answer for each questions. So now I have the complete quizzes with the correct answer so that we can have that available for our final quiz. So I got 15 all set. What do we do from there? Let's go take a look at our course. And if we go down to the final quiz, we've now got the final quiz, which is here. And that quiz is those 15 questions with the 15 follows the flow of the lessons that were done, and they're all generated for us. And to complete the course, people have to complete the quiz. So let's go take a look how I set this quiz up in LearnDash and on the campus so that you can see what's actually happening behind the scenes here. So I'm going to go and we'll go back to the top of the course. Let's go back to the course here and see how we actually set this up. So I'm looking at the course, and on this one here, let me go back. Sorry, my apologies. So we're looking at the course here. I've got it set up. There's a background piece that's here. So that's the background image. And then I have the featured image for the course. And you can see it's in progress, continued, free. It says free here. And I have 10 lessons and 2 quizzes. So again, I said I try and keep it 7 to 10 lessons. We're there. I've got at least 1 quiz that are put in. And I've got a description of the course. which I actually got from ChatGPT that was set up for me. But how did we set this up? So I'm going to go and we're going to edit the course here, and let's take a look and see the pieces that we put in place to get this actually done. The first part is that when you're creating these courses, we're using LearnDash and BuddyBoss when we build out the campus. The course page was that page I was just looking at. Where does that information come from? And we've got the title of the course, which is here. And again, this is WordPress. We're using the standard Gutenberg WordPress editor now. And we've got a great situation where, let me just open this up. So that looks a little bit familiar, more familiar. We've got the standard description that's here. Now this is the full description that shows up at the bottom with the full syllabus. And you can see we've got all of the points here. And a final, join, go ahead. This is the part that showed up at the bottom. If we go below, you're going to see that there is a course short description. And the course short description is the one that shows up just under the title when we were getting started. And I'll show you that one again in a second. I usually put in, the first sentence or two from the above section just to give people an idea of what's going on with it. And you'll also notice the other option that I have here is a course video preview. Now, where does all of that fit in? Well, let's just open up another screen here and we'll take a look at it. And here's that title. Here's the short description that I was just talking about. It shows up here. The big description is below. But we've got a place right here where I've got part of a court. This, if you have an image or a featured image, a video or a promo video, or part of the first lesson, or a talking head video, you can actually have a video inserted here that plays for people. So if I were to add a video preview, if I can put the URL of the video here, and again, that can be any URL. I suggest that you use Vimeo and Vimeo. We cover this, and we actually have a whole course on using Vimeo in these courses. But Vimeo is a great way to have a protected video that can be branded with your branding, not a YouTube video, but branded with your branding. It is in a proper size and deliverable in a way that looks professional in terms of not having any additional content on it. It's just you with a talking head. And it works really well with Vimeo that you can do it on mobile or desktop or tablet or whatever. It shows the appropriate quality of video and size of video that makes sure that it shows up properly. So that main page there is what we fill out, except for, and these are the couple pieces, I'm just going to go on the right hand side here. You can see that I have a course category. So if I want to have categories of courses, I don't have any here, just the default one is right now. We've got tags, and again, this is standard WordPress fare in terms of tags and categories. The great part is that some of the settings for LearnDash globally is we can have LearnDash has a complete set of categories that are unique to LearnDash. So you can have categories for your WordPress blogs and your blog posts. You can have a separate set of categories that are unique for the courses and the tags, and that's where that shows up. Here's that featured image, and again, we can replace that one with a course image as an example. I didn't have that one. If you have a featured image for the course that you wanted to replace that, you can do that. And more information that's here. That's just the lessons that are part of the course. We can open and close and move those around. And WP Fusion is one of the tools, the integration tools that we use that are covered in other sessions on teachonline.io. But that's part of who gets to see the course and who doesn't get to see the course. So I got the basic information there. If we go back to the top of the page here, you'll see the title. We were on the course page. What about the builder? This is the builder where we added the content for each of those lessons. Now, I'm not going to go through it this time on actually adding these, but when we have our lesson plan put together, our content put together, we're going to be able to organize it here in the builder and put it in the order that we want to. And the great part is that once we have all of these here, we can do two things. One is we can expand all so that we can see if there's quizzes or sub lessons called topics in each one. We just did lessons, we didn't do topics. And you can see if there's a quiz here. I'm just working a quiz. We can do some neat things here. The first one is at any time if we want to change the title. If I hold my mouse over the title, all I need to do is there's a pencil there, an edit pencil. If I do a quick left mouse click, it gives us the opportunity to change the actual title of the lesson that shows up. And the other thing we can do is you'll notice is there's the little 6 dots here, almost a hamburger bun. We can actually move and drag these lessons and put them in a different sequence. So that if for some reason we go, you know what, I really want that lesson before this one, or it should be in this order, we can certainly go and actually change that. Okay, so we've got a complete builder. We're all set there. Each of these lessons, I'll cover in another one just to how to fill these ones out. And then a final quiz, which is the one that I talked about at the end. That's after the lessons. You don't do that until you've done all of the lessons and topics, all the learning. This is a final quiz. It's going at the bottom there. So we got our builder put together. What's next? Here's the other important ones that I wanted to get at, which are not ChatGPT related. And these are the ones that you have to think about when you're putting together these courses. Now, the first one is, and this one's interesting because if you are teaching a process, or if you are your course is about doing something, and in order to do that, you need to have it done in the sequence that you're teaching, you know that step 2 can't happen until step 1 is done. And you know that step 3 can't happen until step 2 is done. If you want to force the order or sequence that the lessons are taken in, you want to go and pick linear. And what that means is that if someone goes and they say, oh great, there's 10 lessons to the course, I really only want to learn number 6, so I'm going to click lesson 6. If it's set up in linear, you're saying as the instructor, you're saying, no way, you got to take these in order. This is a little more restrictive, but for you as the instructor who wants to hang their hat and say, yeah, this person took my course, this person understands it, I'm going to give a certificate of achievement, I'm going to add some rewards or gamification to my community. If you want it so that it has to be taken in order, you're going to mark it as linear. If there isn't necessarily a process, you can mark it as freeform. And what that allows the learner to do is say, you know what, right now, today, I only need lesson 6. I have a question about that. I just want lesson 6. I'll come back and another time I'll do lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But freeform gives them the flexibility to do that. So that over a period of time, they can do the course to complete the course, but they can do it in the order that they want. So again, personal preference as the instructor. If you're teaching something that is very, very, very process oriented, I recommend you use linear. If it's a general one that doesn't have to be done in a sequence and has valuable lessons that can be applied in the current situation to something that someone is already doing, do it in free form. Okay. Course users, we can manually add some people here. So we'll just do that. But these ones, let's go and make sure we got that's the piece there. So we've got these settings, and where are the rest of my settings? They are. Just scroll up. I went all the way to the bottom. The access ones. By default, if you have a course and you don't want people to register and you don't want people to basically raise their hand and say, yes, I'm taking this course. If you just want to have like a series of blog posts and have them open, if you select open, the content is there. People could look at it. They can take the quiz. They don't have to be registered on the site. They don't have to do anything in order. It's just information called a course that's available on your WordPress site. If you had 10 blog posts and you said, look, these are 10 blog posts and they're organized by date, that would be open. Same thing. Open is set here. Free is the next one, and it's the one that I highly recommend, even if you're giving away free courses like this one, is this requires that the person that's taking the course, they got to register. They got to put their name in, their email address in. They're going to have to log into the site to actually take that course. They have to register as a user for that specific course. So at a minimum, that's what I recommend. I've got a whole other series on teachonline.io, which is kind of interesting because you can actually build your site and your business by giving away free courses, as opposed to just, doing blog posts. You can give away free courses. Not a bad strategy at all if you do have a lot of content to sell. But at a minimum, you're going to mark it as free. People have to register. If you are just selling courses and you're not doing a membership site, you're not doing a learning campus, you're not doing, Buddy Boss and groups and profiles, that kind of stuff, you can just have buy now or free. And these are built into LearnDash, independent of Buddy Boss and independent of WordPress and independent of WooCommerce if you have a shopping cart. This is just part of LearnDash that allows you to say this course is worth X dollars. They pay, they are registered in the course. They don't pay, they can't register, and they can't see it. It's protected by a one-time payment, which is buy now. Or if you want to say, look, you paid $10 a month, you have access to the course. You stop paying $10 a month, you don't have access anymore. So you can have it as buy now or recurring. The other one is called closed. And what closed is it says you don't have access to it. But LearnDash says, you know what? You can use other ways to protect this content and allow access based on those third-party tools or services. An example might be if you have a shopping cart like WooCommerce, or you have a membership plugin like MemberPress. Both of those products have the ability to say, if someone buys a membership level, give them access to this course. If someone buys a product called Course A in my shopping cart in WooCommerce or Easy Digital Downloads or any of the other major shopping carts, give them access to this course. And that's where you would be put in closed. Okay. A couple other ones here I just want to show you quickly because we're almost at an hour already and I get going on these. There's a lot of exciting stuff. But what I did on this one is we've got it set at registered. And these other ones here, I just want to show you. The thing is that we've got course prerequisites. No, prerequisite is saying you have to take this course before you take this course. And just as much as there's a progression of lessons in a course, you may say, you know what, I have a big process. You have to take course 1 first, and then course 2 first, and then course 3. So it's like you have a beginner's course, an intermediate course, and an advanced course. This was a beginner course, so I'm not going to say you have to have a prerequisite. However, let's say that I had a intermediate course for pickleball, and I don't want people to take that course unless I know that they've passed the beginner course and they've passed the quiz. Then if I created a course that's intermediate, I can say it's a prerequisite. Course is a prerequisite in that intermediate course. If I selected that, I could just say they have to finish this course before they can take, or finish that course before they can take this course. And if it was an advanced course, I could say they have to take the beginner course and their intermediate course before they can take this course. So that's where the prerequisites come in. Again, for me, it's a beginner course. I don't want people prerequisite. Course points, we do gamification on this site. My pickleball friends, it's there. Also included in the Teach Online curriculum on how to set up gamification. LearnDash has some built in. We're not using it. And then here's the other one that is not turned on yet, that will be turned on, is course materials. Remember we had, I was talking about having a diagram of the court and having people see where a blank one and then the filled in one so that they know where the kitchen is, where they know the outlines or the sizes or dimensions. We can allow course materials to be put in with the course in general and each of the individual lessons. And that's how we enable that. This course materials is for the course in general. So if we have a workbook, a global workbook, or a PDF, or any other kind of materials that people can download, or links to other resources that are course materials, we can put the links to them as well. Certificate, again, all of the information that's there. And for the most part, we're almost done here. I haven't put the materials in yet. We're just getting those graphics done, and the certificate is one that we'll do a little bit later, and I'll actually, I have a course on how to build your certificate as well. So this is, we got a lot here in a course, and just want to bring this back up. We're in a position now where we have a course. We've got a course set up for Discover Pickleball, your ultimate beginner's guide. And we started with an X-Mind map. We went to ChatGPT, and we've got all of these pieces in place now that we have a course actually for the site, which is what I'm excited about, because this is going to be the first course that I've put together, but I'm going to ask other experts to put their courses in and make a lot of them available to people. There's so much to learn about, and so much excitement around pickleball. People sharing their different styles, plays, equipment, techniques, strategies, tournaments, all sorts of stuff that's available here. We have the opportunity to put it in a way that is easy to consume, that people can go and understand it in a big picture, as opposed to having to search all over. And I'm excited about having that available. I'm just going to show you quickly the other things that we've got here, just so that you see it, is we are going to have live events. And these events can be webcasts or podcasts, similar to what we're doing with other podcast players or friends. The other thing is, as an example, is tournaments. So any of the tournaments or things that other vendors are putting on, clubs, associations, amateur tournaments, pro tournaments, everything is going to be here in the actual calendar, the event calendar, and groups. So any of the members are going to be able to come and create their own group, be involved in the group, and post videos, points, have a feed. Other members can join, send, put documents up, discussions, photo albums, everything is here in the groups. Members, again, all available for seeing who the other members are. We don't have many yet because I haven't started promoting it, but that's coming shortly. And the news feed is just like a Facebook feed. What's happening, who's on, who's getting points for adding content, who's the one that's sharing their story, who's becoming friends with who's messaging who. All of this is meant to be the ultimate community for pickleball players. So this is great stuff. And I just realized that I didn't have my screen on at the end. So we'll switch that up. Let me just do that quickly here so that we can see what we're talking about again. My apologies. We have the news feed here. We've got the members listing. We've got the groups. There's a members listing. I didn't have it on. Again, you can come and check these out. We got the groups here, which are the groups I was talking about, creating groups for other people. We've got the events, which was the one I was talking about for tournaments, and then the course that we're on, and then, of course, a regular blog. So I'm really excited about this community that we're building out. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of people who are excited about pickleball like I am. It's an easy sport that a lot of people can play, irrespective of their age, their sex, and their physical abilities. So I'm really, really, really excited that, again, we're going to be in a position where lots of people can be involved with this. So I'm going to bring this in for landing. We've been talking for an hour. Again, I get crazy on these because I'm excited about building these campuses, and they're a lot of fun to build, and they're a lot of fun to share with people. So if you haven't already yet, make sure to do a couple things. Teachonline.io is where we actually have our free campus to go and take some of these courses, ask questions, get involved in creating your own courses, creating your own learning campus, your own communities. Teachonline.io. That's the do-it-yourself page. That's a DIY, do-it-yourself kind of site. The next one is trainingsites.io. This is our agency or our service. If you just go, man, I want a site like this, or I have some training I have to do for my staff, or I have a course that I want to be able to create and sell, and you want us to do it for you and or with you, that's where trainingsites.io comes in. We've got a number of packages that help you start, build, to grow, and even market your courses and your campus after. So those are the two parts of my business. The other project is this one that we're working on, which is My Pickleball Friends. If you're even not playing pickleball yet, you're just a fan and want to learn about it, come and join up. It's free. Get involved, meet some friends, find out who's playing where, find out different courts, tournaments, how you get started, take some courses. Everything is free and available here as well. And I'm going to share one other thing just at the end here. The other thing that I'm involved in personally that I'm really excited about is kettlebells and kettlebell training, which I've been doing for the past year now. So the other thing that's spinning around in my head is I think what I'm going to do is once I get this up and running the way that I like, is I'm going to do the same thing for the kettlebell community, which is going to be another neat one because there's a lot of people doing some really cool stuff with kettlebells. People who are into kettlebells, they're into it and want to share their programs, their results, the stuff that they're doing with kettlebells. So that's the other one that's kind of happening in the background that'll be exciting. So my name's James, last name's Maduke, teachonline.io, mypickleballfriends.com, and trainingsites.io is where you go to get started. So I'm just going to click the finish button here. And that's it for today. See you next Wednesday at our Ask Me Anything, or these open live webcasts that we do for teachonline.io. Take care. Expect the best.